The time is 4:01 p.m. We'll call the Plan Commission meeting to order in person and via Zoom on Tuesday, January 11th at 4 p.m. On the second floor of City Hall and Zoom. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Highfield is not here yet, presumed to be arriving soon. Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
Commissioner Lesko.
Here.
Commissioner Kessenek.
Here.
Manager Lemire.
Here.
Engineer Selly.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. Next on the agenda, review and possible action relating to the minutes of the December 14th, 2021 regular Plan Commission meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Michelle, can you see who seconded?
That second was Commissioner Lesko here.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next on the agenda is introduction and review of an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 1-13 of the municipal code regarding the official map for the city of Fort Atkinson. Engineer Selly.
Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about 3 of the agenda items on this particular, or at this point, I guess, in the meeting. I've got a short PowerPoint presentation to talk about the comprehensive plan, the official map, and the land division and development ordinance or code, I should say. So I'll take the time to do that, and then we'll give it or dive into these agenda items specifically, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
All right, and those online, I assume you can see the screen here with the presentation.
Yep.
Great. So there are 3 items, as I mentioned, on the docket today for the Planning Commission, and this is the first public, I guess. Hold this down. This is the first public discussion of these items. There's been quite a bit of internal staff time put into these, going back over a year, frankly, on some of these items. And I wanted to introduce them because they're all a little bit dependent upon each other. The first one is the Land Division and Development Code. This particular item is replacing a 1993, what we call the subdivision code that we had here within the city. Its purpose from a purely from a specific standpoint, I guess, is to outline the processes and procedures for the orderly division and development of land within Fort Atkinson. In very plain speak, this is essentially indicating what land can be developed and divided and how it may be developed and divided. So it gets into the requirements if we want to, somebody comes forward to develop a subdivision, perhaps with 20 homes or 50 homes or whatever it might be. It indicates the expectations from the city for the dedication of parkland, the procedures for the review and approval of that, the expectations for streets, sidewalks, public infrastructure such as water, sewer, et cetera, lays all of that out in a plan for who would approve that and how that would go forward. It's really, in a larger sense as well, it's the third leg of the planning stool, so to speak. The city committed back in about 2016 to revamping and in some cases completely rewriting our 3 major planning documents. The first being the comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2009 and then updated comprehensively in 2019. The second was the zoning code, which was completely rewritten and adopted in 2020. And the third is this land development and division code, which we're going to move forward for adoption here in early 2022. These 3 documents essentially comprise the entirety of the planning aspects of the city of Fort Atkinson. Any questions about the land development and division code? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, I was just going to ask one point of clarification for you. this land division ordinance includes authority over condominium plats. Is that correct?
It does.
An authority that we did not previously have.
Well, we do have that. It was entered into our code of ordinances, I think, 2 years ago. Prior to that, we did not, and that was a loophole that we didn't understand at the time, but we're we're able to remedy. Any other questions on the land development code? All right. The official map ordinance is the second piece of information that's out on the agenda this afternoon. So the purpose of the official map is to reserve land both within the city and beyond our borders for future right-of-way corridors. Right-of-way is not necessarily the most well-used term. In engineer speak, it is essentially a corridor that's anywhere from 60 to 100 feet wide, and this is where we place all of the public improvements. So streets are located in the right-of-way corridor. Internet, electric, gas lines are in the right-of-way corridor. Sidewalks, trails, things of that nature are in that right-of-way corridor. So as we're looking at the growth of the city of Fort Atkinson, which grows slowly but does grow, we're looking at where we want particular roads to continue and how to make sure that beyond our borders in particular, that right-of-way is known to those that are looking at developments in those areas, and that we have kind of a seat at the table, basically, when those developments move forward. A good example of this is the Montclair Overpass. So what you're looking at here, those of you that had reviewed the packet, is the official map. The majority of the changes are up in this northwest corridor of the city, except for, I mentioned this because I see the Merrimans in the audience. The Merriman parcel on the south side is an area that has some official mapping in it as well. But the Montclair Overpass is an extension of Montclair Street. The city has planned for about a decade or so, and most recently did some fairly detailed planning in like 2019 for this overpass. We have agreements in place with the stormwater facilities that are there, as well as the Crown of Life development at that location to preserve the right-of-way that's necessary to build that overpass. When we'll build it, who knows? There really is no timeline for this. There's no initiative from a budget standpoint to construct this. But at some point in the future, we know that we'll likely need an overpass. And so we're planning now for that. If we had a situation where this overpass, that has already been committed to at this location, was to be compromised because of developments out in this area, having the official map and showing some of these roads noted would provide us the ability to be at the table and to be involved in the planning process for development in these lands that are in the town. The key thing to remember about this is that none of these road corridors shown here in the pink and the purple they're not restricting, I guess, on the property in terms of as if the property remains, most of this is ag land. If the property remains ag land for the foreseeable future for the next 100 years, this official map and these planned roads really have no bearing on that. The only time that this comes into play as a planning tool for the city is when the area would become developed. So I think in the memo that I wrote for the official map, we reference, the potential for maybe a large facility to be constructed out here near the Madison Avenue corridor. And if it wasn't constructed in a particular location, or at least with the understanding that we had a large collector street planned here for coming off of Montclair, that could certainly inhibit where we could place this in the future and how this area may develop. So it's only with development plans that the official map, as I said, becomes a tool for the city to be able to get involved in these planning elements. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I do have a question. This is Commissioner Lesko here. So if the overpass were to be constructed at some point down the road, is there some type of threshold of development in that area that would trigger that? Or would it be like as soon as something starts going in there?
That's a great question. There probably is a threshold. I must confess that I really don't know what that is. I think the first time that we see development beyond the bypass along Madison Avenue is probably the point at which we would begin to investigate the answer to that question. The fact that Fort Atkinson does grow rather slowly is on our side in that situation. I think we'd have enough time to do some more detailed planning in the area. But at present, I do not have a threshold or a trigger, so to speak, that would prompt us to figure out when that overpass would go in.
Okay, thank you.
And the last thing I'll mention about this is the bullet that you see here, the steps to exercise these map elements. So if in fact we decided that this corridor was, let's just say the area became developed and the developer said, yep, we'll be happy to preserve this corridor through here for you and for the planned extension of Montclair, the city would then, in order to exercise that, have to compensate the landowner, be it the developer or the current landowner, whomever may be moving forward with that project. So that corridor would have to be purchased or dedicated to the city as part of the official mapping process. So this isn't necessarily a situation where we can simply say, well, this has to be placed in here. We certainly need to compensate the private landowner for that corridor of right of way. Okay, and the third item that's on the agenda that I wanted to touch on was the comp plan amendment. So the city's comprehensive plan gets looked at annually. We typically look at it in the summertime and go through and revisit this document. It is a bit of the roadmap for the city that we refer back to from on a myriad of items related to planning, from development to infrastructure and beyond. The comp plan must be in concert with the official map. So we don't want to have a situation where our official map is showing a road or a park or a trail in one area, and the comp plan indicating either not the same thing or something completely different. And so that's one of the reasons that we're bringing forward the amendment to the comprehensive plan. There's a number of other items in there that are changing. Mr. Merriman, as we talked before the meeting, we had some parklands located on the south side of the city. Those have been removed. So small changes like that have occurred. The removal of the US 12 bypass on the south side of the city, that was a relic from the 2009 map, was also left in the 2019 update. And my information from the DOT is that is a completely dead project. And really, we don't see any traffic volumes increasing to the point where that would be resurrected in any near future scenario. So we've removed that from the map. And then, as I mentioned, the official map areas have been changed. Here's an example of that in the northwest corridor. Let me see if I can. I don't know if do you guys on the Zoom meeting see yourselves in the corner here? Is it blocking the map, or is that just in the?
No, we can see ourselves. I see myself and Ross.
We need several monitors to get different perspectives here. What you're seeing on the screen on the left is the existing comprehensive plan map. This is dealing mostly with the transportation facilities that we have planned. And on the right, you see the amended version. It looks like there are some similarities in here, but in fact, this extension of Montclair looks a bit different than it does on the comprehensive plan map. We have some trails noted in here that have been removed within there. Instead, the planning for parklands within this environmental corridor have been changed to be in concert with the official map. And there's some changes in the city here where we've got the extension of Meadow Lane coming around to meet up with Commonwealth and then the extension of Rena Avenue up into the high school property is shown there as well. So as I said, mainly minor changes, but certainly changes that we want to call everyone's attention to. And again, these are planning changes. These are not changes that are set in stone by any means, and changes that would that would prohibit or inhibit the existing uses of these lands. They only come into play as these lands develop.
I
Any
have a
questions?
question. Yeah, I have a
Yes.
question about that, Andy.
Sure.
You flip back. So what's the thought behind taking out proposed or potential trails and substituting a park?
Yeah, the thought with that was that the trail plan was not as well thought out as the park was. So this corridor running through here that you see that's kind of marked as a squiggly blue line is a drainage corridor. There's a preponderance of wetlands in that area.
Okay.
It's an area that we would preserve with any developments out there just simply because of the drainage. It would also be a more natural area that we preserve and probably augment with some sort of park. The thought was by removing the trail features that are in here that aren't quite as well thought out, but yet putting in the park, we know that we would probably have some sort of access that would come to the park, and that would then require the thought, I guess, the more diligent thought of extending a trail system out to that area.
Okay.
We have two types of trails here. We have within the right or on-road trails, or perhaps off, how do I term that? Within the right-of-way trails, if you will. That would be shown, as you can see here, like in the Highway 26 bypass corridor. That's a trail that obviously is not on the Highway 26 bypass, but is within that corridor. These trails that were shown on the existing map were off trail or off right-of-way extensions. And that was what, when we looked at that from a city staff perspective, being able to understand that if a developer walked in and said, hey, how do I incorporate this trail into, my planned development in this area, it would be a bit more challenging. Whereas if we just simply had the park reserved in this area, then the access to that particular facility would really drive the discussion about the trails and things of that nature.
How do either of those scenarios align with the county parks plan, master plan, or development?
Great question. I'm not as familiar with the county's plan in this area. I do know that we did look at the county's plan for the Rose Lake extended area up here near Dorothy Carnes Park. But I know we looked at it, but I don't believe there was a lot of planning, if any, in this area, but I could be mistaken on that. So I don't want to.
Well, and to be clear, that would be developed as a city park. So not that we want to not consider the county park plans, but this would be this would be developed as a city park if and when this area was annexed into the city.
Right. Yeah, I realize that. I just wondered if the trail that had been on that plan might have had some relation to what the county had planned for that area. I was just a curiosity.
It did not. That I can assure you.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the comp plan? Okay, the process of approval for these three items, the comp plan is by far the more important of all of the documents that I've discussed so far, and has a very involved process of approval. January 1st, it's not noted on this particular table, but on January 1st, the public notice went out that we intend to revisit the comp plan and look at the proposed amendments. So that public notice was put out into the paper. It was also on the city's website as well. We all know that we don't necessarily reach as many people as we used to through the paper and the city's website. So there's also a number of steps in the process, this being the first in a public meeting with the Plan Commission, where we're going to introduce that information as we have today. Then we have an ordinance committee meeting this evening, where we'll review and provide the same information to that committee. Then we have letters that are mailed directly to property owners that are affected by the official map. Those went out, I believe, on Monday of this week. So they'll be able to get a very specific letter of interest related to this. And then the city council process takes over. There's 3 different readings at 3 different city council meetings, one of which is a joint meeting with the Plan Commission related specifically to the comprehensive plan amendment. So if all goes through as planned, the final adoption of all of these would be at the February 17th city council meeting. But of course, that does assume that all of the various questions are answered, I's dotted and T's crossed. So. And that was it. I just wanted to, all of these are so intertwined, but yet separate agenda items this afternoon. I wanted to kind of give this overview and try to give everybody a sense for how all of these fit together. Any questions regarding this? Okay, great. Well, thank you. We'll skip back then to item 3, which was review and possible action related. Introduction and review of the ordinance to repeal and recreate section 113 of the municipal code regarding the official map for the city of Fort Atkinson. So the official map, let me get out of this thing here. The official map, as I noted previously, really deals mostly with this area up in the northwest. And I would say the area down here on the south side that is the current property owned by the Merrimans that's for sale is the other area that is within that official mapping process. These are the areas that really are the most impacted, I guess, by the official map. The only other area that I would mention is the extension of this bike path through here. There is a portion of that on the existing railroad, and they did receive a letter indicating our wishes to try to extend that through the railroad property. But everything else that's shown on this official map is in an existing public right-of-way, so there is no impact to any private lands other than those that I've mentioned so far. The process, again, we've talked about that for review. This is an ordinance. This will go through 3 readings at the city council level. And then once it is approved, this tool will be used then by the city as development occurs in these areas that are noted with the intent of public right-of-way or public infrastructure. We will have a seat at the table to be able to discuss that development and ensure that we have some continuity associated with planning for those pieces of infrastructure. Any questions related to that?
I will just note that the February 1st date is the public hearing for the official map. Okay, are we ready to go on to number 5, which is the introduction and review of the amendments to the comprehensive plan for the city of Fort Atkinson? Okay.
Yeah, so we talked about the comprehensive plan already, why it's important to perform these amendments. They were noted in the packet. I'll bring that up here. What those were. But essentially, as I mentioned, there were the removal of some of the outdated elements, addition of elements associated with the official map, the changes to the US 12 bypass on the south side of the city, and those maps 9 and 10 deal largely with those transportation elements of the comprehensive plan. Are there any questions related to the comprehensive plan amendments?
Okay, moving on to agenda item 6, we have review and possible action relating to a resolution recommending the adoption of the public participation plan for the city of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, relating to the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan.
So this is part of the public process. This is provided in state statute. So when you go to do any amendments or reconsideration of your comprehensive plan, as I mentioned, that's a very powerful document. that we have here at the city, arguably probably one of our most important. There is the adoption of that plan to make sure that we're getting the public participation that we want, or the opportunity for public participation from the citizens of Fort Atkinson related to this comprehensive plan. The plan itself was laid out in the packet. Again, provides a number of steps involved in the various approvals and public participation associated with the adoption of that amendment. I believe that we are looking for an approval from the Plan Commission, although I think the City Council will consider this as well, right?
Right, we are looking for an approval of the resolution that's in the packet. Let's see here. That is right above the public participation, or right before the public participation plan. There
Yeah.
is a resolution of the Plan Commission recommending the adoption of the public participation plan for the city. So the City Council will get this, if approved by the Plan Commission tonight, the City Council will get this as part of their packet on the 18th to review, and then they will be asked to review the public participation plan and approve a similar resolution adopting that plan.
Any questions related to the public participation plan?
And again, that plan basically outlines the schedule that Engineer Selly has reviewed today. Okay, if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution recommending the adoption of a public participation plan for the city of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, relating to the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to recommend to the city council the adoption of the resolution pertaining to the public participation plan for the city of Fort Atkinson related to the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any additional questions on this? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Let's see, item number 7, introduction and review of the land division and development code for the city of Fort Atkinson.
Yeah, so I talked about the elements of that. The memo, I think, broke it down a little bit further with respect to the contents of that plan. The plan and draft form was included in the memo as well. Are there any questions related to this particular document that the Planning Commission might have?
Not a question, just a comment. It's a lengthy document that's consumed, at least for me, more easily in several sit downs with it. But I appreciate the call outs to the purpose and the intent section. It's hard to find any fault with the 24 items that are called out in there. Highlights very neatly what our priorities are for the community's lands.
Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, there will be additional opportunities to take additional looks at this, and there will be additional bodies taking additional looks at this document too. So it will be thoroughly vetted. Okay, if there are no other questions relating to agenda item number 7, we will move on to agenda item 8, which is review and possible action relating to the request for a wall sign and panel in a group sign in a group development sign for the extreme smoke at 1642 Madison Avenue. This is site plan review 2022-01.
Okay, thank you. This is, as indicated, a review by the Planning Commission as required by the sign code for some proposed signage for a build out that is currently happening at 1642 Madison Avenue. Just for reference purposes, this is the empty tenant spaces that are between the current Dunkin' Donuts site and the current Shopko Optical site. There's 2 tenant spaces there that are being built out as one, and They have a request here for a wall sign that would go above the door of their establishment. And then also for a tenant panel in the multi-tenant monument sign that is on that site. That particular sign was approved as part of the site plan for the entire development several years ago. We've looked at the location, size, and content on the signs. They meet all the standards as far as the sign code goes. And there is no conflict with the comprehensive plan, which lists this as a community commercial area, which is, a mix of retail, mercantile, and residential. So it meets the requirements of the code, and staff would recommend approval of the wall sign and the tenant panel.
Just a clarification question. What's the type of retail establishment that this is?
It's Extreme Smoke. It's a smoke shop. It'll provide, I would assume, tobacco products and things like that.
And vaping products.
Yeah,
and
vaping products. those types of
Electronic.
things.
Smoking paraphernalia and electronic smoking devices.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the Plan Commission about this item?
Just that it's close to the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right by where the Dunkin' Donuts and the Shopko Optical is out there on Madison Avenue. So it's right. in
Right, and
front of-
behind it is the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will just note that the city in reviewing this sign had the same thought as you, Commissioner Highfield, which was, let's make sure we're trying to protect our individuals in schools from this type of use. So to that end, the city's ordinance committee is meeting tonight, and they are reviewing an ordinance change to, in the future, require a use such as this be located at least 1,000 feet from a school, public or private school. So while we could not do anything for this particular case, we are looking at an ordinance change to essentially prevent this from happening again.
And currently the legal smoking age is 18, or legal age to purchase tobacco products. Is that right?
It's 21.
Is there going to be any type of supervision? Are they going to card kids that come in?
You'll have to.
Yeah,
mean,
they will.
By law,
They
they have
would have a cigarette license, and there are requirements through that cigarette licensing.
Yes, this is Clerk Ebert. They did apply for and was issued a tobacco license for retail. Those licenses are notified to the state, so the state is familiar who has those licenses. Our police department is well aware, and they do compliance checks with these types of businesses in the city, as with grocery stores and gas stations that also have a similar license. So it is not by the wayside that there are age restrictions on these products, and our police department is very active to make sure that the wrong products do not get in the wrong hands.
Just checking.
And the clerks also, in addition to the facility having to have this license, the clerks that sell the products also have to go through the Serve Safe program and be licensed as well. Isn't that correct?
No, that is not correct. Only alcohol sales require operators to have licenses. There's no license required to sell tobacco products. They just have to make sure they card the individual and they have to be of age.
I will say that the scope of the item on the agenda tonight is just the sign face. So
Yeah, I know.
we have no problem providing additional information for sure. This was something that we could provide additional information for, so we're happy to do so. But the agenda item at this evening's meeting is the request for the wall sign and panel in a group development sign for Extreme Smoke. If there are no other questions about the actual signage, I would entertain a motion to approve this request.
I don't have a problem with it per se. I'm just curious if they gave any rationale for why the sign on the building is basically extreme smoke repeated twice. You've got, I mean, it's in the oval thing and it's underneath. It just seems
Redundant.
Yeah.
There is a location in Janesville along Milton Avenue. It's just past Buffalo Wild Wings on the right before Panera Bread, and that's the same signage they have there. I think they have 2 other locations. So the reason behind it, I don't know, but it is consistent with their other businesses.
Got it.
One's probably their logo.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the signage as presented.
I'll second Commissioner Schultz.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next on the agenda is adjournment.
I would move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we are
Closed.
adjourned
You
at
can't see me.
4:38 PM. Thank you all.